Hey guys, this is Phaydra from Darrowmere. I've made a couple of videos before about how to set up Elvui, and it's been a really long time, so I figured I would make an updated version. Ignore the bone chewer realm. I'm making a new tune in order to do this video. So the first time that you log on with Elvui enabled, you're going to see this window. And you'll also see that the screen looks pretty much like your standard Blizzard UI in regards to layout, but it looks different because it's using an Elvui look. So down here you've got your left chat window, and you've got your specialization and your loot spec. Durability is down here right now, order resources, because that's what we use in the Legion expansion. Here are some spell bars. Here is the player frame, and then if you click on, me or a target or whatever, so player frame, target of target is right here by default. And over here is the right chat window, and it's showing right now the system, so the FPS and MS, time, and gold. Up in the right is where the minimap appears, and then right now it's set to show the guild, a guild button and friends button. So if I was in a guild and I clicked on that, it would open up the guild window. If I clicked on friends, it would open up the friend window. And over here is another spell bar. So the setup window here, don't hit skip process. Go ahead and click continue. Set up CVARs, yes, and you see CVARs appears up here, CVAR set. Continue, set up chat. I'm going to go ahead and do that. It'll, I think, show the class colors in the chat window. It's kind of nice. And then I'm going to choose the classic theme. You can choose dark or class if you want. And then I'm going to use high resolution because I have a pretty good computer. And my tune is going to be a healer, so I'm just going to click healer, and it'll, set my layout to what a healer would normally want to see. It says, using healer layout is highly recommended that you download the add-on Click. Okay, I don't use Click, so continue. Aura bars and icons, or icons only for auras. I prefer to use icons only. The aura bars that appear kind of clutter up the screen and give you less visual screen to use, so I'm just going to hit icons only. Continue, and once you hit finish, it's going to reload the UI. All right, the little help tips window appears up here, and you can either click through and view some tips, or you can hide it, or you can disable and hide it. So I'm going to disable and hide it because I don't need that. So the way that you open up the Elvui settings window is type /Elvui. Here you see the main page. By the way, I'm using the Elvui version 10.72. So if it's a future version, you may not see the same things as I have on my screen. So over here are the different categories of things you can change. So general, action bars, bags, buffs and debuffs, chat, data bars, data text, maps, nameplates, skins, tooltips, unit frames, filters, plugins, profiles, credits. And then within the screens, you've got different options across the top here. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff to work with. It's pretty complex, so I understand why some people are like, wow, I need to go find a help video. All right, so what you can choose here, I like to have the game automatically vendor grace for me when I'm at a vendor because it's pretty annoying just to click it in your bags to get rid of it. Announce interrupts, it's pretty good to have it set to say, or you can use an add-on called RSA and have it automatically announce your interrupts for you. Anyway, auto repair, you can set it to player or guild, or you can choose none. If you have a guild that has repair funds, you can hit guild if you want, so that's what I'm going to set it to, even though I'm not in a guild right now. Auto greed /DE, if you're at max level, it'll automatically greed or choose disenchant for greens because you probably don't need them. And so there's other options here too. Right now it's set to show a bottom panel, so that's this black line across the bottom. I'm going to unselect that. All right, so let's go to action bars. You click the plus sign to open up the different options for action bars. So here is where you would find the options for pet bar, stance bar, micro bar, and then your spell bars 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the boss button. Microbar, I'm going to go ahead and enable that. So I'm going to click on it and do enable. And what it does is it gives me the little microbar that has links to character, spellbook, achievements, collections, help, etc. All right, so let's look at spell bar 1. As I said earlier, you've got spell bars across the bottom here by default. If you want to show a backdrop behind the buttons, you know, right now it doesn't have a backdrop, so you see these kind of gaps between the buttons. I don't need a backdrop, so I'm gonna leave that unchecked. Anchor point, bottom left, that's, you know, kind of where the buttons are gonna start from. So number of buttons is right here. You can set it to 12, you can set it to 6 if you want. It just depends on how many buttons you want on your spell bar. And then buttons per row determines how wide it is. So right now it's set to 12 buttons per row. That means that it's stretching all the way horizontally, all 12 buttons. But I like to change it so it's a 3x4 grid. So I'm going to change buttons per row to 3. And as you can see, it's got a 3x4 grid now because there's 12 total buttons, 3 across. Button spacing is the amount of space between the buttons. I'm just going to change that to 1. And then, so there's just all of these other things. Right here is where you'd see if you have a tune that has different stances or forms, it changes your spell bar, it changes the spells on your bar based on whether you're in kitty form, not stealthed, if you're in kitty form, stealthed, etc. If you only want to see the spell bar when you mouse over it, then you'd click mouse over and it's going to disappear until I put my mouse over it, but I'm going to leave it visible at all times. Bar 2, I'm going to change it also to have 1 button spacing. And then it's also on bottom left, no backdrop, and I'm going to do 3 buttons per row. Button size 32, same thing as bar 1. Now bar 3 comes 6 buttons per row, so I'm going to change that to 3 so it matches the other ones. Bar 4, it's automatically set to show the backdrop, so I'm going to uncheck that and I am going to enable it. It's not enabled right now. Bottom left for the anchor point. Button spacing 1. Buttons per row 3, so it's got 12 buttons, 3 per row, just like the other ones. And I'm going to actually make this one a mouse over, so I'm only going to see it when I mouse over it. Bar 5, I'm going to disable. I don't need another bar, and then bar 6 is already disabled. So under bags, if you want the all-in-one bag, you can keep this enabled, but I don't like seeing the all-in-one bag. I'm going to uncheck that. And then bag bar, I like to see the bag bar, the individual bags. So I'm clicking enable. And then what it does is it wants you to reload UI after you make that change. Some of the changes ask you to reload the UI. So I'm going to type /Elvui again. Okay, so we're back on the general window. And we were messing with the bags. I don't need to change anything else there. For chat, so this is where you can change whether you want both chat panels to show. So right now the show both is enabled. I'm going to hit left only and it's going to hide the right chat window panel. You can change your font sizes here. Class color mentions is over here, alerts. So that's just where you change those different things. Data bars, that is, so like your XP bar, your artifact weapon bar, reputation, and honor. If you want those things to be visible on your screen, depending on what you're doing, the PvP bar will only appear, you know, if you're in PvP. Artifact bar will only appear if you have an artifact weapon, and so on. Data texts are the things like that you see underneath the chat windows and also the minimap. What I'm going to do there is for the panels, there's small panels, left chat, right chat. I'm going to not show the data text panel right, so I'm going to uncheck that because I don't have the right chat window appearing. I don't need that. Data text panel left, I'm going to keep that enabled. So left chat. Right now it's got your spec, loot spec, durability, order resources. I'm going to change that to friends, guild, and gold. Yep. So right now you see friends, guild, gold. Small panels would be like the minimap panels. Currently it's set to guild and friends. I'm going to do system on the left, and I'm going to do the time on the right. So system, time. For maps, you can change mini-map settings or world map settings. Nameplates are, you know, this right here. You can see young thistle boar over this boar. So if you wanted to mess with the nameplates there, you can do that. I don't mess with skins. I don't mess with tooltip, unit frames. For general options here, it's got, you know, the colors. So I like to see class health. Right now you can see it's a gray color no matter what you're looking at. So if you do class health, then it changes to orange because I'm currently on a druid and I'm currently targeting a druid. All right, so you can also change the power and all this other stuff. So this, I said, is the player frame. This is the target frame, target of target. That's where you would mess with the settings here. You can change the size. You can change whether or not you see your resource, such as mana. And then also down here is the party frames. So if you're in a dungeon, you can mess, I mean, if you're going to be in dungeons, you can mess with the size of the frames here. There's so many different settings that you can mess with. I'll just let you play with that. Raid frames would be such as if you're in a mythic raid, which would be 20 players. Raid 40 frames would only appear if you're in a massive raid. And then tank frames and assist frames are also editable right there. If you're working on this and you want to see what it's going to look like, by the way, you can click and drag this window to be up here. If you hit display frames, so right now I'm on raid frames and I hit display frames, it's going to show you what the bar size and, you know, where the buffs and debuffs are going to appear. So that's if you're just trying to mess with it and you're not sure what it's going to look like. If you click display frames again, it'll disappear. All right, so under profiles, this would be if you go through the process and set up one of your tunes, it'll create a profile in the background. So if you do a new tune and you don't want to go through the entire setup process again, you can do copy from and then choose that tune, and it'll copy those settings into the current tune that you're on. All right, so toggle anchors. This is where you start to move things around on the screen. I'm going to hit that, and you can see all the different windows and frames that you can move around. So you can see left chat over here, class totems is next to it. Now, currently the two are tied together as well as the experience bar. If I only want to move the class totems, then I'm going to double click it, and then I can move it around on its own. So I'll just put that back down there. Talking head frame, this was kind of new in the recent expansion. That's where, you know, some image will appear of a boss or an NPC, and it says things and it appears right there. So player frame, I'm going to move up here to the right, and then target frame, I'm going to move over here. And you notice it's kind of jumping around. That's because sticky frames is enabled. So it's trying to, you know, make it go to the different grid or the spell bar right here. So you can just disable it here, and then you can move it wherever you want to go, and it's very fluid. I'm going to put target frame there. I'm going to move focus frame, and you can see if you only want to nudge it down a little bit, like one, you know, pixel at a time or whatever it is, you can do that. If you know exactly where you want to put it, you can change the X and Y numbers. So focus frame, I'm going to move it up here. And I don't need the pet frame because I'm not on a tune that has a pet, really. So I'm going to move pet frame over here because it's not important to me. I'm going to move pet and bar over here as well, just get it out of the way. Main tank frames, sure. Main assist frames, great. Vehicle seat, loot frame, I'm just gonna move it right there. Stance bar, this is if you're on a class that's like a warrior or a druid, so you can see what stance you're in, like bear form or cat form, whatever. Microbar, I'm gonna move that to the far upper left, GM ticket. So you can see you can move a lot of things around. I like to have my mini map in the bottom right, but again, you can see that it's tied to the other one, so I'm gonna double click it. Oh, and by the way, here's the bag mover. I'm just gonna put it right there. Tooltip, I'm gonna have appear here, so if I'm, mousing over something, it'll show me what it is right there. So mini map. Ah, my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna double click this one. All right, let's, that one is separated now. Gosh darn. BNet frame, that's where your friends are going to appear if they sign online. If you've got battle.net friends and player buffs. And now I can move the mini map down there. Your spell bar is over here. I'm just gonna move that down to the bottom. Arena frames, boss frames. Objective frame, that's your quest objectives. I'm gonna move it to the left. Player buffs over here, and player debuffs over here. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff to play with. Alternative power. This would be such as if you're on a boss that you build up power and you need to spend it somewhere, you do that. Zone ability, yeah, boss button, all sorts of things. So may not be where I end up putting these things, but for now, that's where I'm putting them. R1, R2. I'm gonna move player cast bar here. I'm gonna move target here, just to get it out of my way for now. So 3, you get the idea. So I'm gonna hit lock again. Now actually, you know what? I'm gonna move the raid frames down here because I'm a healer and I like those to be right in the middle of the screen to make it easier to heal. So raid frames, raid 40, and party frames for when you're in a dungeon. All right, now I'm gonna hit lock. So you can see now the the player frame is now in the middle of the screen, or on the left side here. Here's the target frame, target of target. Yeah, bag is over here. I need to move that to the right actually, but anyway. Okay, so /Elvui. Those are the main things that you would probably want to do. So yeah, I mean, just play around with it. There's so many different things. You can go ahead and reply to the video and ask me questions if you want, and I will try to get back to you right away. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. Thank you.